Another big hit they sold was heroin. Yes, that heroin. It too had been discovered several decades before, but Bayer managed to commercialize it as a, and I quote here, non-addictive cough suppressant. That's right, they sold heroin as cough medicine. A bit of an overkill, but it was effective. Heroin ended up being extremely popular around the world. Combined with aspirin, Bayer's international sales skyrocketed. Many of their researchers were awarded Nobel Prizes for their discoveries, but by the end of the 1920s, a particular someone was already poking his head around the German political scene. After Hitler became the Führer of Germany in 1934, he ordered a large-scale rearmament of the German military. This turned out to be a very lucrative business opportunity for IG Farben, and they took it. By the time Hitler became trigger-happy and decided to invade Poland, IG Farben was one of Nazi Germany's biggest government contractors. This is where things started to get ugly. Many concentration camps were set up to be strategically close to IG Farben's factories. They relied heavily on slave labor, especially towards the later part of the war, and they even went as far as to build a synthetic rubber plant next to Auschwitz. They also produced and held the patent for Zyklon B, the infamous insecticide that was used to gas people in extermination camps during the Holocaust. They were involved in some truly messed up stuff, and I wouldn't blame you if you need some eye bleach. The war? Well, things in the East were simple. Stalin came, saw, and nationalized, and that was the end of IG Farben's Eastern assets. Things in the West, however, were a bit more complicated. As you know, many former Nazis were tried for war crimes at the Nuremberg trials. IG Farben's directors were also put on trial, but they managed to get off lightly compared to their friends from the military. Of the 24 defendants who were indicted, only 13 were found guilty, and their sentences barely ranged from 1.5 to 8 years. The Allies had initially decided to destroy IG Farben because of how morally corrupt it was, but as usual, the interests of major corporations got in the way of justice. John Rockefeller's Standard Oil, for example, had close ties to IG Farben, and the two firms had engaged in numerous cartel agreements. I'll refrain from getting into conspiracy theories, but it is a fact that IG Farben continued their operations well after the fall of the Third Reich. They were finally broken up into their constituent companies in 1952, which led to Bayer's re-establishment as an independent company. Things weren't looking good for the new Bayer. This was the second time in a row they had lost all of their foreign assets. In the end, Bayer's strategy was pretty much the same. They would heavily invest in research and development, and they would constantly release new products to the market. Not just medicine, but also pesticides and petrochemicals. Over the next 5 decades, Bayer's research division would make numerous advances in the fields of chemistry and medicine, far more than you'd like to know. They ended up spinning off their petrochemical division in 2004, so now they just make pesticides and medicine. Funnily enough, they coexisted with IG Farben up until 2012. That's right, it took German authorities 60 years to settle all the lawsuits from former factory slaves. That's about it for Bayer's story. I hope you enjoyed this fun and occasionally horrific video.